Mark Bergin here on behalf of the Arthur Moats Experience. And today I go through the top running backs in the AFC North Division. And it starts out with Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry. King Henry, to no surprise, is the number one running back in the division. He is 31 years old, though, fighting back time, fighting back the clock, finding the fountain of youth. He will turn 32 in early January, and he's coming off a 1,900-yard season for the Baltimore Ravens. He would have been the NFL's leader if not for a man by the name of Saquon Barkley, who decided to go for a two-piece, and that is 2,000 yards on the ground. Henry also tied the NFL lead with 16 rushing touchdowns a year ago. He's a future Hall of Fame player. Derrick Henry has been one of the most prolific running backs coming into the league. And I look at what Henry and the Ravens did in the playoffs against our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers when they rushed for 299 yards on the ground. And they had a scoring drive where they ran it 13 consecutive times and the Steelers couldn't stop it. The tandem that Henry has with Lamar Jackson is certainly special to watch. How long he can continue to fight off Father Time remains to be seen, but he shows no signs of slowing down. Derrick Henry is my number one running back in the division, even though he is 31 years old. I then go to Cleveland Browns running back Jerome Ford at the number 2 spot. And let me say this, you go from Derrick Henry, King Henry at the mountaintop, and then you could really rank and argue the rest of the running backs in the division and have a compelling argument for who number 2 is. But let me go with Jerome Ford, because when Nick Chubb battled injuries, Jerome Ford, 14 games played, 104 carries, 565 yards on the ground. So that's 5.4 yards per carry, only 3 rushing touchdowns. What will Jerome Ford do in an extended role for the Browns overall? Or is it going to be one of the rookies that emerges in Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins or Tennessee's Dylan Sampson? So I've got Ford at number 2. And maybe this argument is that the Browns are pretty good at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage, and these players are the beneficiaries of that. But what Jerome Ford has done in the absence of Nick Chubb, and Cleveland deciding not to bring Nick Chubb back, Chubb now a member of the Houston Texans, I've got Jerome Ford as my number 2 running back. At number 3, I've got Chase Brown from the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Mixon, like Brown, is also on the Texans now. I know Chase Brown might be the beneficiary of a very strong passing attack. Joe Burrow completed greater than 70% of his passes a season ago. You've got Jamar Chase, you've got T. Higgins, a prolific passing attack. Burrow had more than 4,900 yards through the air. But let's go through some stats. Chase Brown, 16 games played, 229 carries, 990 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 7 rushing touchdowns, only 2 fumbles, only one of them was lost. I've got Chase Brown as my number 3 running back in the division. Again, he is very much a beneficiary of a prolific passing attack in Cincinnati. And at number 4, I've got Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Warren's going to get a shot here at development because it's been Najee Harris's show for the first 4 years of his respective career. But Jaylen Warren, 120 carries, 511 yards. That's 4.3 yards per carry. Only 1 rushing touchdown this past year, but we're going to see what he can do more in what I'd assume Jaylen Warren will be the starter. Now, Caleb Johnson's also going to get his opportunity. The Big Ten's leading rusher coming in as a rookie out of Iowa should help this Steelers rushing attack. And it's a young Steelers offensive line, the entire right side of the line. So the center, Zach Frazier, right guard, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fautanu, all second-year players, all players that the Steelers spent draft capital on. Broderick Jones, entering his 3rd year, moves over to the left side, and then Isaiah Seumalo up front. I think this is going to be more of a reflection on what the big uglies or the big sexies can do up front for Pittsburgh because of the draft capital that you've invested on the offensive line, back-to-back first-round picks in Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu at the offensive tackle position. Now, I'll say this, despite the fact of how I've ranked these running backs, if I was doing the group as a collective, because I would go Derrick Henry, Jerome Ford, then I would go Chase Brown and Jaylen Warren. But if I'm evaluating the groups Overall, I go Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Bengals. So my rankings are a little bit different if you actually factor in the backup running backs and how these running backs are as tandems instead of as individual players. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but that's how I see the running backs in the division. It's Derrick Henry and everyone else, but that can quickly change. We saw what Nick Chubb did for years in Cleveland. We saw Joe Mixon was a really solid running back. Say what you want about Najee Harris. You knew you were getting 1,000 yards from him. You knew he was going to play in all 17 games, and you knew he wouldn't fumble the football. So we'll see. There's been some changeover in the division at the running back position, but that's how I see it breaking down. And we'll see how much longer Derrick Henry can continue to fight off Father Time. My name is Mark Bergin. I hope you enjoyed my rankings of the AFC North running backs, signing off on behalf of the Arthur Moats Experience.